Okay, people, today I'm going to talk to you about the only lure you need when targeting spring or fall run stripers. I have loved this lure for over 30 years, and there's a reason. It catches a lot of them, and it catches the big ones. So the lure that I'm talking about is a metal lip swimmer. This one, as you can see, is a little beat up, and that's just how I like it. There's a lot of these on the market, but when it comes to the wood handmade baits, you've got to be a little careful. If you go to like a Dick's or you buy like an off-brand lure, they are not going to run so well. I've tried. They're cheap and they just don't get the right action. So the one that I've settled on for a lot of years now is the Gibbs. There's a lot of custom made ones out there you'll see at tackle shops and stuff like that. They're super expensive, and honestly, you don't need to buy them. This one is relatively inexpensive, and they really work. So if I was only going to pick one lure, it would be this one. It would be this color, this size, this everything. It's called the Danny Surface Swimmer. It's a 2 1/4 ounce made by Gibbs, and the newer ones, as you can see, don't come with a feather treble, which Gibbs, if you're watching this, come on guys, really? Like, I think actually the feathered treble is super key. So unfortunately, once you get these, you're gonna have to go get yourself a feathered treble. I'm not saying they're not gonna work without a feathered treble, but what happens is when this thing is moving in the water and the treble is like doing its thing, it's super seductive and it looks like a tail swimming. So without that, you just got this and not this. It's hard to explain. I think it's super important. This size right here is probably a 3/0, and as you could see, it's just a white bucktail with the red thread. Believe it or not, they don't even get this hook most of the time. I don't even remember the last time they got this hook. If you look at it closely, it's all rusted. It's not even. They swallow this thing. So most of the time, they get the treble hooks. But like I said, the feather treble, I think, is super important. That's my opinion. Do what you want. So the other lure they have, that's also a super sleeper, is this one. This is the 1 1/2 ounce, and they're calling it the Pro Swimmer. All right. Once again, this one has a feather treble on it. I don't know if they come. Actually, this is a newer one, and they don't come with the feather treble. Or I'm sorry, the feathered single hook, I should be saying. To me, that's super disappointing that the newer ones don't come with it. I don't know. You're going to have to, once again, go look at your local tackle shop and get yourself a little bucktail single hook feathered trailer hook. This one on the small, Danny, is probably about a 2/0. So both of these lures are between like 25 and 27 bucks. That's pretty cheap for a handmade wooden lure, because if you go to your tackle shops, you'll see they're way more expensive than that. So besides that bucktail on the rear, they come with what looks like 3/0 VMC hooks. Here's your 3/0 VMC hook. This is the hook that I've been using for a couple years now. It's probably hard to see in the camera. This is supposedly a 2/0, and this is a 3/0. This one is definitely bigger. It's 100% thicker. It's a 3 times strong. The gap is a little bit larger. The gap also does point in a little bit if you're familiar with like an extra wide gap style hook. So when it does hook them, it's real tough for them to get it out. So this is the hook I've been using. It's called a Tsunami Salt X. It's the 3 times strong and the 2/0. And $5 for 3 of them. That's pretty good. When it comes to the smaller Danny, you could just use the same hook, but in the 1/0. So you could use whatever setup you want. I'm throwing it on a 9-foot Daiwa with a 4000 series reel, 30-pound braid, Power Pro. And the thing you got to be careful about when throwing this thing with the braid is when you toss this thing, the braid can kind of get wrapped up in the hook sometimes. So I use about an 18-inch leader of 40, 50-pound test with a strong snap. Again, 50, 60-pound snap. And the snap at the front. The snap that I'm using at the front is another, it's again 50 pounds. It's this Technical Angler power clip. A lot of people are using this thing. Not only does it make it easy to get your baits on and off, but it gives the bait freedom of movement. So instead of a direct tie, it's freedom of movement. And Gibbs actually recommends having a snap on the front of these anyway. But again, it gives you more freedom of movement. So this is a lot less limp than your braid. So as it's flying through the air, it's not as easy to get wrapped up in the hooks. You could even bump it up to 60, 70 pound leader. The thicker it is, the less likely it is to get wrapped up in the hooks. When you're casting, it's hard to explain, but you've got to try to get like a cast where it kind of sails through and keeps going instead of like just helicoptering as it's flying through the air. So the next thing that's super important is the retrieve speed. You've got to retrieve this thing at the right pace. Too slow, no good. Too fast, no good. It's kind of a medium slow retrieve, and once you get used to it, it's this seductive wake on the top that it drives the bass crazy.
So usually you'll be staring at this thing eye level, not overhead like it is right now, but you're looking for this thing to be barely under the water, creating a nice bulging wake that goes back and forth. Get used to the vibration of this lure when it's running correctly, because when you cast it way out there, that's all you've got. You won't be able to see it. You're just going to have to feel the lure.
I can't stress to you how important the retrieve speed is. This lure pretty much has one speed. It's a little variable, but for the most part, 90% of the time, it's a slow, seductive boom, 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 boom. It might take you a little while to get used to it. It will eventually become second nature. Whereas you can cast it way out there and you don't need to watch it while you're reeling it in. But in the beginning, that's the one thing you want to do. You want to be like looking at it and making sure that your retrieve is right and it's doing the exact steady wobble, okay? So the other thing with this sometimes is you might need to tune it just a little bit. And by tuning it, don't be afraid, but after a fish or 2 or 3 or 10 or 20 or 100, you might need to mess with the lip a little bit or the line tie. So as I look at it right now, that line tie is not really straight. Okay, so you can take it. I know it's probably going to be hard to see, but it's off a little bit. You could take it, straighten it out. Okay, you can lift it up or push it down just a hair, and that will either bring it down a little bit more or keep it up to the surface a little bit more. It's the same thing with the lip. The more you push it up or push it down slightly is going to affect the wobble action and the diving action. All right. Most of the time, this thing is tuned perfect right from the factory. So if you're out there throwing it, you catch 10 fish, and all of a sudden you're looking at it and you're reeling and you're like, man, that thing just don't look right anymore, or I can't get the right speed anymore. I would first look at the line tie, make sure that's straight, and then second, mess with the lip. Again, just a little bit, up or down, throw it out, look at it, and you'll get it right. It's not that, don't let it frighten you that I'm talking about tuning it, but it's something that's part of it, you know, so I don't want you to not know that, because you might go out and then all of a sudden you're thinking to yourself, I can't get this thing to swim right, because sometimes it won't. You know, again, but don't let that scare you. Trust me, don't let this thing scare you. You want to buy this lure. If you are into catching big stripers, trust me, get this thing. Don't be scared about a lip or tuning it or any of that stuff. Just jump in and do it. So I can tell you, my opinion on this lure is that it outfishes most people. Most guys will be throwing your shad style baits with like a jig head, and they'll be throwing poppers, pencil poppers, topwater poppers. Maybe some people will be throwing metal. Sometimes they'll catch a lot of fish, but they won't catch the big ones, okay? This does both. Catches a lot of fish and catches big ones. I cannot tell you how many times I have outfished guys on a beach. And I actually have video of the last time I was out, and I was out fishing everybody and catching bigger ones, and I'll try to put it in. Maybe I'll put it in at the end or whatever. I lent the guy next to me one of my metal lip swimmers, because I was kicking his butt so bad. Standing right next to him, by the way. Okay? I remember another occasion, I think it was last year, where there was a bunch of us on a beach and 2 fish were caught. Me and another guy. And they were in that 35-pound class. That was it. I don't know what he was using, but I know what I was using. It was this right here. So I can go on and on and on. I can keep telling you stories about me out fishing guys with this bait right here. Listen, if you're serious about striper fishing and you want to have some fun, go grab yourself one of these. And like I said, man, I don't get paid by Gibbs. I am definitely not sponsored by Gibbs. I wish I was. I wish they were giving me something for free. But I could tell you, don't go out and get the cheaper ones. You don't need to go out and get the more expensive ones. I've done all the work for you. I've just lined it up for you in this video. You only need one. This one right here. The smaller one, believe it or not, I should touch on that a little bit. That smaller one will outperform this one every so often and other guys on the beach, because sometimes they're on smaller peanut bunker, and this one will not get as bit as much as this one. But between these two, if you were only going to get one, which is the video, get this one. But I'm telling you, this little one too is super sneaky, and both of these lures in combination are just amazing. I've done the work for you. They 100% work. I've laid out everything that you need in this video. Go out and smoke them this fall and next spring, and then every fall and spring after that. I've been messing with these things for 30 years. All right, guys, go out, have yourself a blast. Like and subscribe.
Hey, bud, you want to borrow this one? I ain't gonna use this color. If you want to use it, you can. It's like a yellow bunker.
What is that, metal?
Yeah, it's a Gibbs. You can borrow it, dude. Like I said, that blue one, dude, I'm just so confident in that blue one. I mean, I've caught them up to like almost 50 pounds with that thing.
Oh, that's freaking better than this.
Yeah. Just get. Hold on. And he choked that. Yeah, he choked that freaking choked it. Like I said, I just got so much confidence in that other one, man. And then I got a white one that I really like.